So the first one that we'll jump into today is going to be to regulate blood sugar. And the problem is when we eat carbohydrates or sugars and that turns into glucose in the body has to raise insulins to process that glucose. And if someone's eating a lot of carbohydrates and sugars, it can create a really big sugar spike. And those sugar spikes are often followed by a sugar crash. And when a sugar crash happens, now the body doesn't have any glucose fuel source to operate on. There's other fuel sources that a body can use, but when someone's eating a lot of carbohydrates and sugars, it can restrict the body from accessing those other fuel sources. So eating high carb diets can really create a lot of trouble where a person is going to feel lousy for a variety of reasons just because of those sugar spikes and crashes. And the real trouble is that over time, the more we're eating these high carbohydrate meals and maybe carbs and snacks, all this kind of stuff throughout the day, we're keeping that insulin high all the time, all day long. And when insulin stays high all day, all the time, over time, our cells become less receptive to that insulin. And we become what's called insulin resistant. And now that glucose is not going to be processed correctly. And as long as that insulin is really high, not only can the high insulin create a lot of inflammation that can create a lot of symptoms, but it's also going to tell the body to store this fuel as fat. So as we accumulate fat, and man, now I got to buy new pants because my pants don't fit, that excess fat can also create new symptoms and new feelings of, I just don't feel so great kind of a thing. So there's a lot of ways to fix this problem. Some people will go on like a ketogenic diet or a carnivore diet or a very low carb diet, or a person can just use a low carb diet, or they can cycle their carbohydrates in where maybe some meals they're having higher carbohydrates and some they're having lower carbohydrates, and they allow insulin to come down for that period of the day. So the right step is really going to vary from person to person depending on how their body is processing specific types of foods and how their insulin is reacting to those types of foods. You might have to learn how to look at your body chemistry to really dial in the right steps that are going to be optimal for you. But if a person can just reduce the carbohydrates they're consuming, if they're really consuming a lot, it can make a big difference in just how they feel. So when we can regulate our blood sugar and keep it on a more of an even keel, then we remove those spikes, which removes those crashes, and it also allows periods of time where insulin can come down so the body can access other fuel sources like stored fat and allow us to burn stored fat for fuel.